F100 Talk. What is up? Craig from Jericho Classic, aka F100 World. Today, podcast, two guys plus one. We've got Dan, CJ, and Paul. They've all got trucks, all got Ford trucks with some awesome engines. Each of them is pretty much entirely unique from each other, as are their personalities. As I'm sitting here doing this podcast, there's an American flag behind them. They are definitely the American epitome of people who own Ford trucks. And when I got to know them at Tennessee at the Grand Nationals, guys, these are three dudes, three awesome trucks, and definitely saw something happen at a drag strip, a raceway to CJ's truck, which we'll talk about later. Guys, this is a good listen. Appreciate you guys showing up, and yeah, be sure to do those comments down below and review. Hope you guys enjoy the podcast. Oh my gosh, what is going on? Dan, CJ, and Paul, what are you guys up to?
What's going on, Craig?
Man, working on the weekends. That's just sort of how it goes.
Yeah.
If there's one consistency is I don't like to work much, but I'm cool doing podcasts talking about trucks.
I was gonna say it's probably easier when you really enjoy not only the content, but maybe some of maybe not this podcast, but some of the others, the people you're doing it with.
I think I'll enjoy this one just fine.
Yeah, I actually thought there was going to be refreshments.
Yeah, there's supposed to be refreshments.
I was told there'd be chicken tenders.
That's hilarious. All right, cool. So let's start here about you guys. Where are you guys from?
So I'm in Kingsport, Kingsport, Tennessee.
Cool.
CJ
Paul?
and Paul, where are y'all from? I don't even know where y'all
I'm from Sevier County, Tennessee.
I'm from Sevier County as well.
Shout out to the Tennessee boys out there listening to this podcast. I'm sure you guys made it to the Grand Nationals. You guys probably saw their trucks. Huey, I'd say, would be the company that people probably noticed riding around in the cruise, and there was a tent there with you guys hanging out. Let's just dabble real quick on your company here. Huey Fab. Would you just give us a short version of an answer of what is Huey Fab?
Huey Fab is it's a moonlight and weekend fab shop that I actually bought the rights to the LLC in 2020, and it's the result of probably 2 years of just inquiries on social media. You know, what front end's under that truck? How'd you get that low on a Crown Vic front? Which rear you running? Just and I kind of grabbed the stuff as it came out, like the Dakota Digital when they started offering parts for these trucks, the Vintage Air Sure kits. When they first came out, I grabbed them up. And so not that I was anywhere close to the first, but in our area, seeing those parts on trucks, got the truck a lot of attention and lots of conversations of, well, what would it look like, if I paid you to do this for me? And so I really quickly realized that there was like this niche market for people who probably could do this stuff, but didn't necessarily have the time or the resources or the skills to do it. And I kind of put some pricing together, went and bought an LLC through the state of Tennessee, created a brand, and it's kind of in the last 8 months kind of grown into something that, if I'm not careful, could start to overlap with my daytime job. And through it, I've met a lot of cool people like CJ and Paul, and even before that, actually. So Brandon Osborne, which I think a lot of people on social media and on the forums know, he's been grabbing these trucks up for a few years. He originally started grabbing them to get parts to build his truck, and then very quickly accumulated like a dozen trucks. And so then he started parting them out on Facebook. And that's actually how I met him. I bought a $40 bumper off of him. And he's got a shop that's about the size of mine, maybe a little bigger. And between the two shops, we've built a few trucks, a few chassis, and including CJ's, which is how we met. And
Yeah, I met a guy in Crocs and thought, man, this dude's sketchy as hell.
I'm a big Croc fan. That's why. So if you met me at Grand National,
Only guy I know that TIG welds in a set of Crocs. I'll tell you that.
So that's the Tennessee. You guys are kind of get her done. Doesn't really matter what. Honestly, it's pretty awesome that you are having this brand start to, sort of go into your daily grind of your normal job. That's a good thing, because maybe one day you'll leave your job, or
yeah, I mean, potentially it's definitely a situation where you don't want to let the cart get in front of the horse, but I think there's some potential there. And really it's, we get a lot of good compliments from people who see the work and review it and have comments, and they're mostly 99% good. And I started doing it because I grew up a fabricator, got into management and had this itch, and I just wanted to start to build and create with my hands again. And that's why I bought. I started looking at. I was into Mustangs, late model Mustangs, and of course the
Good
You
stuff.
know, the going fast thing is always who spends the most money always wins that one. And I got burnt out on it after a few years, and I thought I want something new. So I went to visit my parents, and my dad had just picked up a '75 F100 long bed, freshly built, 302 in it. It was orange with the white top. It was Tennessee colors. And I went home. I lived about 2 hours from my parents at the time, and it dawned on me I need to build an old Ford truck. And this was late 2016, and I picked up Frank the Tank. We call him that because it's got a 4.6 mod motor in it. Everything on the truck is an OEM Ford component, down to the computer, the ECM that's controlling everything, with the exception of the AC and the gauges, obviously. Because my goal was to road trip this thing all over the place with my wife, and if something failed, I could pull up at O'Reilly's and very quickly get a part off the shelf. So
You
anyway,
also don't want to hear anything from your wife that it broke down.
very true. So, hey, good point. There's a lot of high performance stuff out there that performs really, really well, and we should continue to support those companies.
There you go.
But for guys like me that just want to kind of cruise, obviously the OEM stuff is, designed and built and tested on a per million per unit basis, or billion in some cases, if it's a Crown Vic, because I think there's about 4 billion of them on the planet.
I got 7 of them in the field for sure.
Yeah, CJ has 1,000 of them himself. And so yeah, that's kind of how Huey Fab came to be, and it's definitely turned into making friends pretty regularly.
He's all right.
We use the term friend loosely, as you can tell.
CJ, man, where do you fit in with Huey? And tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, actually, I'm from here, Tennessee, Sevier County. I was born and raised there, in between Danvers and Sevierville. I grew up around all this stuff. My whole family hasn't always lived on the right side of the law, hence why we got the name Homer's Hooch on the truck. I met Dan last year actually at the F100 show there in Sevierville at the behind the wilderness there at the convention center. Got to talking to him, got to just asking him a bunch of questions like everybody else, and actually was wanting to build. I drag raced a lot full time there for a lot, and I got tired of all the politics, so I just decided, hey, I'm just going to build something I can take to shows and all this. So I pulled the car in there, I yanked the motor trans out of it, stuff, and sold the roller, and started talking to Dan, and brought my frame up here, and we got all the stuff put under it and everything. And the dude does killer work. I mean, he's a super honest guy. He stands behind what he does. He don't try to shortcut nothing. Like he is, you get exactly what you pay for and then some. Most places should charge, 3 times what he does because half the work, and he does an awesome job, not just building him up. His head's swelling now as we're sitting there talking. Like I can see it expanding. Like I know it's round and perfect, but it's like it's getting worse. So
I'll send you enough pictures of the progress to make your wife jealous.
Yeah, I mean he does an awesome job, and he'll, for an additional $20 a day, he will actually send it as like, you're doing something else, like your money's not really going here, So it works out great, But
we have a good time.
no, I just so I bought this truck. Actually, I found it. An old man that we actually know, an old family friend, had it sitting in the field, and I bought it September 22nd of last year. And we hit it hard. I took it home, stripped it down. We cut the frame up. And I had it done before Christmas. It took me right at 3.5 months to really get it to where it was running and stuff. Everybody knocks it because of what it is, but it's just it is what it is. It's a good truck.
We'll get to why you said that here in a minute for sure.
That's how I got involved with this guy. And he's, like I said, I've tried to help him out any way I can, because somebody that does as good a work as he does should be recognized for it, and not out here being, hey, this guy's shady. He's doing, it's not like that at all. He's up front. It's a very good business he has going on here. Very good.
That's awesome because, for anyone who's into classics or even just racing, like you run into plenty of shady people, like plenty of shady car guys. It's just like, it's nice that you guys were able to find Huey and Dan here doing some good work, and actually is a good guy and genuine. It was like, really, this is why we're doing this podcast, because you guys, we started BSing and it was fun. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't, you guys are awesome. It's hilarious together, and you guys will only get a taste of that here, I think. So Paul, man, real quick, tell us about your truck.
My truck's a 67. It's got a big block Ford in it. I actually bought the truck about 5 years ago. I was looking for a truck, and at the time, everything was so expensive, and I got to thinking that it would make a lot more sense to buy a classic truck, because at least that way it's going up in value rather than just depreciating. So I bought my truck. I found my truck from a guy in Athens, Tennessee. It was already together. I put all the suspension work in it. I've got the old school truck. These guys got all this newfangled fuel injection, drop this, drop that, crown this, crown that. My truck's still on I-beams.
Yeah.
And it's got a hanger flip on the back of it. We're talking old school. And I bought the truck to actually use it as a truck. I took it shortly after I got it. I'll never forget. I went to the local landscaping company and I bought 2 scoops of gravel. And the guy wouldn't put it in my truck. He said, "There's no way I'm putting this in the back of your truck." And I said, "You got to, because I need it." And he dumped two scoops of gravel in the back of my truck, and the look on his face when he did it was pretty shocking, But I bought the truck to use as a truck, and I've moved in it. I've hauled stuff in it. It's there for about 3 years. It was actually what I used to haul trash off every week. It was actually my garbage truck there at the house. And I think that's really the thing that is kind of cool about these things, is that, you can have something that looks, mildly acceptable, as the bait truck does.
Oh, your truck looks good.
But yeah, for a shelf.
Why do you call it a bait truck?
Well, couple months ago, we entered our first car show. I didn't know we were going to a car show, actually. I thought we were just going there to look around. And we get there and everybody drives in, and I have to pay what turns out to be an entry fee. And we go in there and park. I hadn't washed my truck or anything. And so my truck is shiny, and it's decent looking from about 100 feet. And so I parked next to CJ's junk, and they'd come over to look at my shiny truck, and then they would see the big gigantic turbo on CJ's truck and basically trip over mine to get to his. And so ever since then, I've named it the bait truck, because we just use it to pull people in to win CJ money.
So we've actually decided to do this just now through this podcast.
Just now.
That, Paul's door decal is going to be the bait shop.
Bait and tackle.
or Paul's bait tackle. Because we're all about laughing, and that would make me laugh.
Every time.
Every
time we seen it.
As long as we spell bait.
Yeah.
Well, see, that's what's good about. I mean, people bring their trucks to shows and everything, but it's also about for winning awards. But it's also about conversation. People walk up to mint trucks and they look at it and go, "Cool," and then they walk up to trucks that look like they have a story. Like, "Hey, why does it say Bates, tackle shop or whatever?" Like, that's where it's at, or Homer's Hooch, things like that. So, and that's exactly what I did when we walked up. I was like, "What's this? What's Homer's Hooch? Like, what's underneath that hood?" Oh, never mind. And so on and so forth.
It's Windsor based.
Yeah, you're spot on, Craig, because it's I don't think I've ever entered a truck show with Frank the Tank anticipating winning anything. I've always entered it just so I basically had permission. Yeah, had permission to be there.
We didn't have to walk as far.
But just the dialogue and getting to know people, and also talking to other people about their build. Just sharing this. The F100 community's still pretty new in the sense of what it is today. I mean, F100 community is not new, but what's so appealing now is still pretty new. So we're all still learning from one another. And, by the end of the weekend, we had 2 or 3 extra trucks parking with us. I mean, people from New Hampshire and Indiana and from several hundred miles away, I never would have met had it not been for these trucks.
And super good people.
Yeah. And
awesome.
And you're now we're talking on social media all the time, and it's like, man, I just had a blast, and I know we just met, but man, I feel like we've known each other in a lifetime. And it's just really neat, the camaraderie that surrounds it. And so yeah, to your point is, people walk up, and that's how the conversation gets started. Do you own a bait shop? And then you get to tell that story, and people go, this is hilarious.
Idiots.
Yeah, probably most.
Yeah,
of
I bet I got asked where Nowhere, Tennessee was like 4 million times over the weekend. Like, where's that at? I'm like, okay, never mind. All right.
There was an Instagram story going around when we went to the drag strip in what was the name of that drag strip we went to?
English Mountain Raceway.
Craig was there with us. English Mountain. Yeah.
English Mountain Raceway.
And there was a hashtag. I don't know if you guys saw it. There was an Instagram story going around, and it said, "Please take me back to #nowhere." And it was because of your door decal.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
That's awesome. That's awesome. By the way, that drag strip was at the end of that's a little rough.
Hey, that track has been there. I raced on that track when I was racing junior dragsters, man. It used to be top notch, and it's still a good track. It's just a little rough. I mean, you got to know how to drive it.
It felt real. It felt real. Like you go to some of the nicer drag strips and raceways, and it just seems on the surface. But when I went there, you could tell there was a lot of history. In fact, that was the first question I asked: is like, how long has this been here? And like everyone had a different answer, but it's been around a while.
It's been there since like the 70s, I want to say, at least. I've got some old pictures on my phone from people racing like Mopars and stuff back in the 70s there. So
that's awesome. Yeah.
Been there for a while.
You know what's crazy is there's several 4-digit power making trucks and cars that run that track.
Yeah, I run that pass that I run there that night. That truck makes 1,000 horsepower. That S10 I drove with my buddies there. It makes some power.
I was pretty sure that guy was going to wreck. By the way, he was, I don't know what was happening at the end of the track, but he was all over the place. I'm just like, oh my gosh.
That's no prep.
You got that track is definitely a driver's track. It is not a data track because it's going to do something different every time. But it is a super awesome place. And actually in the fall at the show, we're hoping to get a bunch of people together this time and actually cruise up there. They're super cool with whatever we want to do. I mean, we can do burnouts as long as we're safe. You know what I mean? Not trying to get nobody hurt or nothing like that. So, like you said,
what? No guns unless the kids are shooting or something. It was something like that.
Exactly, and that's it. No guns and don't run over the kids unless the kids are shooting guns, and then we're good.
Those are the two stipulations we were given. CJ called the track owner and he said, "Hey, we got a group of F100s. We may come run, we may do some burnouts, we may do some donuts. Is that okay?" And he's like, "Yeah, that's fine, just so long as nobody shoots guns and no kids get hurt." Like those are two pretty good rules.
Pretty lax rules.
I think you guys should start like you said, a cruise or a show there, dude. That would be awesome. Like a miniature Hoonigans or something.
That's what we was thinking. Like after like this past time we went out on Thursday night. Like they're not open on Thursday, but we could go on Friday night after the show, and all of us get together and cruise up there. And all of us just have fun. They don't care if we cook out. You can bring a grill. It doesn't matter. I mean, you can bring your adult beverage. It doesn't. They are super lax. So
yeah, we're talking about burnout contests and all kinds of things in September. So
just a bunch of good old fashioned grudge racing. It don't matter if you got something fast or not. I mean, just come up there and race your buddy. Just everybody get it on video and bragging rights pretty much kind of thing. And it's really neat. And they'll cut us a deal. Like if we get a bunch of trucks up there like this last time, they give us all a deal because of where we come from and stuff. And it worked out really good. So.
That's
just
cool.
Be careful because CJ is actually the hometown hero there, and he's really just trying to take everybody's money.
I don't know about that, man. What happened at the drag strip? People started like trying to find new parts, things like that. That was quick.
Shots fired. Also, bail housing parts.
I had a transmission if I wanted to keep racing before I left there. That's how good the people are there.
I actually want to get to that, but first, real quick, your guys' is like nicknames of your trucks. I'm pretty sure you all named them. So, Paul, yours is Bait Truck, or does it have a nickname?
I think that's it now. All of a sudden,
we decided to do it.
This podcast decision.
Yeah, I never named my truck that, but it sounds.
It's on the internet.
It's on the internet. It's viral.
It's got to be true. It's on the internet.
There you go. So, CJ, yours is Homer's Hooch and basically just all the awesome memories you had with your dad, that kind of thing? Or?
Man, yeah, it is. They called my dad Homer for a long time, and I just couldn't think of nothing better. Homer goes with hooch, and I like to drink a little bit of hooch every once in a while, as you remember.
Yeah, there was. I smelled that freaking moonshine and was like, nope, I'm good. Straight up paint thinner.
We were actually pouring that in the fuel tanks when we were running.
There's your secret sauce.
Homemade E85.
But that's how I got. We were sitting there one day and I got my soapstone out and I started drawing and I got to looking thinking about the name and I just started doodling on the door. So that's how it come up. Like because my dad, that's where I got the truck I learned to drive on was one of his, and it was a 3-speed on the tree with a 302. And I thought it'd be pretty cool just to name the truck kind of after him in a way. Me and him are best friends. We work on stuff together now. I mean, all the time. That's who I spend 99% of my time with is my dad. So other than these guys, so
Yeah, my dad's the reason I got into trucks. Like, I don't think that was his plan, but he restored in 1964, and now I'm addicted. You know what I mean? I tell him thank you all the time. You know, like it's like the most expensive addiction ever, but thank you.
Yes.
But far better than a drug addiction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Craig, I will say I definitely appreciate this and appreciate you hanging out with us last week. I know
that was a blast. You guys, hey, CJ, Dan, you guys made the trip like extra freaking awesome. You know what I mean? Like it was awesome enough, the fact that we're at a place where like there's 700 Ford trucks, you know what I mean? But the fact that you guys, you know, I don't know, the conversations we had about your trucks, the videos that we did, and then of course that drag strip and all that jazz, that was a blast.
Yeah, man, I had like such a good time. Like I love talking to people. You know, that's the main thing for me is meeting and making friends.
There you go.
I met some of the best people I have met at car shows in a long time. Like,
Oh man,
like Ivan and Danny. Like Danny should like move down here sometime because he's like me and him should have been brothers. Like, cause we like to raise hell. I mean, we really do. Like, we really like to have fun. And then you got Daniel here, Professor X. He Dwayne, whatever you want to call him. You know, we got about 30. Paul,
Professor X.
Yeah, he's got the perfect bald head. But like Paul here didn't call him by his name for 3 days just to see if he would ever say anything. He's such a nice guy. He never said a word.
Oh, I knew what he was doing. I've been around people.
he didn't know. He had no idea.
But like Danny and Ivan and I mean just everybody that we met and Brandon, Danny's buddy. I mean they were like they've noticed for forever. You know, they were just like hell. They could have went home and hung out. You know, and it would have been fine. You know, it was just a super good time with a lot of really good people. And
yeah, we were actually talking about that earlier about how people from all walks of life and I mean with the current political climate in the country, that people from everywhere can come and hang out and put all that stuff behind them just because of their love of these trucks. And I think that's pretty amazing. I think that is it's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, it's community, man. Like, I mean, that's a good time to name drop Ford F100 World Group. I tried to stick to getting rid of all of the BS that didn't have to do with the Ford trucks, the community of the Ford trucks, the history, you know, the family, the connections, and the gearhead side. And it blew up, I think, because of that. And it was because of the Ford trucks, not necessarily anything else, except that we got rid of BS, you know? So
yeah,
you're exactly right.
You know, somebody posts a picture on there and asks what this pile of parts is, and you get like 40,000 comments on Chevrolet junk.
Your guys' posts were like probably the most popular. I mean, KC might have topped you. KC might have topped you guys, but like the most anything I posted of you guys, the videos of the donuts that you guys did of the burnouts. I mean, they were like, God, up to 300 likes and like 56 shares or something like that in about a day. You know, and it was just wild.
Listen, I've never done anything or posted anything thinking that people would even care about it.
No, and that's sort of why you do that. You just post it because you're like, hey, 4 people are going to like it, and I like that, you know.
Well, we were talking about this, you know, because you know I've talked to so Ivan Corda, who had the QA1 Illuminator swap T56 from Silver Sport Transmissions 69 that was with us all weekend. He and I have talked, CJ have talked, Brandon Osborne again, Danny Gill, all the guys that we kind of hung out with all weekend, just about how like overwhelming it was, like just to do things that you built the trucks to do, and how much attention it was getting, and I don't want to call it attention, but just how much support you were getting from the community. And that was really cool. And hey, listen, if KC got more than us and we're second to KC, holy cow!
Yeah. Who cares? That's awesome.
That's kind of like
he's a super good guy too, though.
Yeah, talking to him.
He was super chill, super awesome, and I mean, you always think that they're probably already sick of us wanting to come up and talk to people that are famous like that, if that's the word we use for him. But boy, you wouldn't know it. Like if you didn't know who KC was and you talked to him, you'd have no clue. He's so down to earth.
I was talking to Solomon on Thursday, just catching up because I hadn't seen him since September. And Casey walked up, and you know how it is when someone like makes it into your peripheral. And I just looked over, and he goes, "What's up, dude?" I was like, "This guy's totally digestible."
Yeah, like I was signing in up there to get my registration card, and he was standing there doing his, and he was just the most humble person ever. He was registering just like we were. You know what I mean? He didn't. There was no special. He was just, and he talked to me for like 10 minutes and just the most, asked him how his trip was, asked me how he's super nice guy. Just super nice guy, laid back.
I can remember watching the Red Morning video.
Yeah,
I'm sure everybody's seen it. This guy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. If you haven't, you should watch it.
And thinking, man, if he can do all that with a Crown Vic, surely I can do half of that.
Yeah.
So
that's true. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he's inspired a lot of people unintentionally by that video to make cool videos of their trucks. It was actually kind of funny. I rolled up next to him at a stoplight, and the fact that someone is cool that you feel like you can do this, which is I rolled up to him, I rolled down my window and I said, "Pardon me, do you have any gray poupon?" And like his entire car like laughed. Like I couldn't do that probably to some other people because he's so down to earth, so cool.
Yeah. But for me, I was floored and blown away. Last year, of course, with COVID, it was kind of a lower year. But even the year before, I think it was like 300 trucks. I was telling these guys 2 years ago, it was me and my truck and 2 lawn chairs and answering the same 4 questions all day.
In his Crocs.
In my Crocs. Yeah, I was definitely wearing Crocs a few years ago. And this year was, a 30 by 10 tent, selling T-shirts, giving away stickers, and 10 trucks that rolled with us everywhere. And of those 10 trucks, 4 of them were Huey Fab pieces. And it just was really overwhelming. And so, I really like Solomon because he tried hard. Like Friday, he called me. I want to say, because the show starts at 8. And at 8:45, Solomon calls me and he says, "Hey, dude, I have you 9 spots up here. Grab all your stuff and come up here."
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, man, I've got like 2 really big tents. I've got 6 T-shirt totes, 2 tables.
Well, and something we could just move. And
9 trucks. I was like, man, by the time we get up there, and so I think definitely next year or even at the next show, we should coordinate trying to get closer to
everybody get together and us have like just a badass time the whole time we're there.
Well, because like you said, we're just like, I like to build cool stuff and that really is rewarding, but just some of the relationships that I'm making along the way, I've found so much more value in that. Like at the drag strip Friday night, Craig, you came up to me and you're like, "Why don't you make it to the pass?" And I was like, I had my fun. And Craig was like, "No, I want to go down the strip with you." And I was like, "Oh,
brave
all right,
soul.
We'll hop in there." I just got pieces of bell housing thrown at me, but Craig, you want to go down the track, dude? Let's do it.
All right.
I'm still sore.
I think we're going to talk about the track here. What happened to your truck there, CJ, next. But first, tell people about your truck and what's under the hood and all that jazz. We may lose a few people.
Everybody's about to sign off. Are you ready for this?
Are we sure we're done with the pod?
Yeah, it's about to crash, man.
5.
It's about to crash.
It's a pile of recycled beer cans.
Yes, very much. And they're like the cheap beer too.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's some kind of German poodle beer that Paul had me drinking, I believe. I don't know, but no, it's the motor come out of my race car. Everybody knows LS is cheap horsepower. Yes, it has an LS in it. I had it's a 6.0. It's got a set of worked 317 heads on it. It's been CNC cut and stuff. ARP bolts, studs. It's just it's got a VS Racing from Byron Sign up there. He hooked me up with a 92-110 VS turbo.
Can we pause there?
Yeah.
Will you say that turbo number again?
It's a 92-110.
92-110.
Yeah, it's just a small one.
We refuse to start the truck
if
there's any small children around.
Yeah, it deafens some people from time to time. I think I actually got you with it, didn't I, Craig?
Yep. Yeah, there'll be a video on that on Craig Classic for sure. I don't know if my camera caught the sound, but
he almost got kicked out of the Huey tent as about as quick as he was in it because my wife had just put our smallest. So we take, if you guys have met me, you know this, but we take our kids to all the shows. And my 11-month-old had just fallen asleep on my wife, and CJ,
starts popping.
One of the showgoers comes back and like, "Man, fire that thing up, I want to hear it." And he pops off the 2-step, and I think he's still a little terrified of my wife to this day. They brought her a birthday card today.
Yeah, we brought her a birthday card. Happy birthday to Jenna. Today is her birthday, so she's
happy birthday.
Putting up with this guy.
That's my better half.
But it's 6.0. It had a 6-speed in it until our recent fortune of events that we had. It decided to turn loose. The clutch did and destroyed everything on its way out. So I actually have ordered all the parts to fix it. It ripped the exhaust manifold bolts plumb out of the head when it tore out. It busted the bell housing, broke the mid plate on the transmission. It actually cut the frame of the truck when it come out. Luckily, it went down instead of up, or I'd have probably lost my feet. So the truck makes pretty good power. We tuned it all the way to 35 pounds of boost with that turbo, and it turned on really responsive. I keep it turned down just for street driving because it's no fun. You know, it just annihilates tires if you keep it turned up. It's on corn. It's on the 85.
No fun.
Yeah, it's on the 85. It still has no problem spinning.
But, burnouts are no fun.
Yeah. So
That's not true.
It's on corn. E85. It's got some Bosch 210s in it. It's just your mild run of the mill LS that makes pretty decent power. Like I said, the clutch turn loose. We're going back with an auto this time. We're not going.
Yeah, right.
I have built this. I have had it. It's just it won't hold it. I just don't have the kind of money I need to throw at it at this point to get a stick shift to hold for a very long period of time.
And you said it was a T56?
Yes, it was a T56. It had actually my buddy Jeff Chapman. He's here local. He builds about everybody's T56 around here. And we just spent like $2,300 on that thing like less than 2 months ago. And it made it that far and the clutch turned loose and destroyed it. So, which I mean, I understand, you know, the clutch takes all the hit. There's no absorption from a torque converter like that. So it's hard on stuff. And definitely when you start throwing power and you're on a racetrack and it's sticky, it's going to break. And I knew that, but this guy over here, he talks me into it. So it's just one of those. I'm blaming it on him.
Who, Paul? Oh, Dan. Okay.
Actually, both of them. It was Paul's idea to
Thank
go
God
the
it wasn't
direction.
me this time, because usually I'm the one that gets blamed for everything.
We have fun.
But I like to drive the truck. That's why I built it, was to take it to the shows and hang out with these people. And
No,
Yeah.
you built the truck to throw chunks of bell housing in my truck.
I did. We actually found some new dings in Dan's truck
Yeah.
today, from where my parts decided to slap the side of his.
My headlight bezel, Craig.
It got his headlight bezel.
Really? See,
Pretty
when we
good.
jumped into your truck, Dan, we saw just one little dent on the side of the bed, and we're like, character. It added character, but now you're finding more damage.
Now he's gotten into the expensive aluminum pieces, so I'm less.
I'm gonna have to give him the
about
one off of my truck so he'll quit crying about this one. So
That's awesome. So,
kind of like the names of the trucks. I mean, it's a story. Man, what happened here? So hey, if you
LS7
LS swap your
let go.
truck,
but I'm going back with the Glide, so we don't have to worry about this anymore. I actually had my buddy over at Lightning Glides in North Carolina.
you say Glide? Who made the Glide?
Chevrolet Power Glide, yeah. They hold power though. A lot of people put them behind Fords.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. But see, I catch this shit all the time. So I actually I called him on a Sunday afternoon, that Sunday after I tore it up, and by Tuesday afternoon he had built me a very nice 1,500 horsepower Glide. And actually used Hueys. I called Hueys, Pete down there, and Eric, and they actually got me a bolt together that I'm putting back in it. So I'll be able to change some stuff around if I need to. And my truck's already on Holley EFI with the Dominator set up. So I'm actually going to try to be making some passes. I'd like to drive it to the track, make some low 6 second, high 5 second passes and drive it home, and it'd be a street truck. So that's my goal in life, is to not let these Ford guys really buffalo me too bad, because I mean, I've
You
got a
keep beating
Chevrolet motor. Yeah, I just got to keep my head up, even though they cut me down every time they get a
Hey,
chance.
all I'm saying is the old 4.6 made it from A to B several times.
The old
There you
4.6,
it made it out of that drag strip for sure.
yeah. I made it down the track once. You just hadn't got there yet. I
Oh,
see
yeah.
it.
I'll tell you what, man. The Ford gods were watching over us, because I was down with a camera at about clutch level, like, you know what I mean, like, and it decided to go everywhere else and create a beautiful whatever that was below your truck there, and that was awesome.
We were having fun, you know. Stuff's gonna break.
It
Oh,
broke
yeah,
the
totally.
wheels off the block.
Wow.
When it came out, it broke everything. Like I say, everything. It broke everything.
How much power is that engine pumping?
Right now it's turned way down. We had it turned up. It was a little over 1,000. So I mean, it was pretty healthy. But it was just it's not fun to street that. And I had an unsprung no clutch, no spring clutch in it, and it was started shuddering when we was on the cruise that day, because you know I drive it everywhere, and we was on the cruise and we sat in traffic and it started shuddering, and I thought, something's a little odd. And then that night, that's when it decided to go ahead and let go after the second pass there. So,
Hey,
Well,
speaking,
it made a good video.
speaking of the cruise, Craig, did you get to go on the cruise? Did you
Yeah.
find a seat?
I
He
did.
drove it too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I handed you a camera. Yeah, I drove. Forget his first name, but he owns a shop. Last name Sweet. He had that '66 sitting on like a 2010 Lariat, and
Oh,
he just
yeah.
handed me the keys, dude. He was just like,
Yeah.
I was like, hey, can I ride with you? And he's like, here you go. And I was like, hell no. And then I was like, I'm not gonna drive your truck. And then 30 minutes later, I was like, hey, does that offer still stand? And he's like, yeah, here you go. I was like, all right.
Well, I think you had sent us a text and you were saying, hey, look, I'm looking for a seat, if anybody's got one open. And so I asked my wife, because we've got an 11-month-old. So she obviously, stays pretty close to him. And she said, no, I'm not going to go. But my oldest son wanted to go. So if he had not, if he didn't have any interest, I was going to message back, say, hey, we got you a seat. So I knew, but so actually way better than riding with me. You got to drive. They were parked at Solomon. I've seen their builds. Really, really nice stuff.
Like, yeah, top notch. I mean, and they did subtle things to make that fit that you wouldn't notice. Like one of the trucks had like the door and window lengthened, but I didn't notice it till he pointed it out. But anyway, yeah, the cruise is awesome, and I'm gonna use that footage, CJ, that you put on there. That was pretty good stuff.
but did it actually come out good?
It was pretty good, man. Yeah, I mean, it was a cruise, and most of it's flat, but you could see like the rivers, you could see the Smoky Mountains. You could see all that. It was really good, dude. So I'm gonna put it together as a video. So, but Dan, dude, you mentioned 4.6 in your truck. What year do you got?
So the 4.6 is 2006, and basically I built this chassis, and it's got a 2.5-inch frame Z up front, Crown Vic swap, and Ride-Tech coilovers. I don't know if I'll keep the Ride-Techs. I'm really liking what Andrew Peterson's done with his setup. Yeah, he's got some really good stuff. But it's got a 98 to 02 Crown Vic rear that's built in it. And I made it to an F100 show. I want to say it was the 2018 Bring That show. And I very quickly realized I want to be a part of this. I want to be showing up and interacting with people and asking questions, and also have something to represent, the fruits of my labor. So I grabbed up a 4.6 and a 4R75 and threw it in the truck, stripped the wiring harness down, got it running, been driving it since. And then on the side, I've been building another chassis that's same thing, 2.5-inch frame Z. It's going to be Crown Vic swap. It's got a larger C notch in it. It's actually an 8-inch notch, 4-link, and it has a 5.4 liter 4-valve out of an 03 Lincoln Navigator. It's got the Australian Boss 260 intake on it, long tube headers, T3650 5-speed trans in it. So it was supposed to make it to this show. That chassis was underneath Frank, but Huey Fab's growing so quickly that I just continue to put obviously other people's stuff in front of mine. And Frank the Tank, it drives, it gets me to shows. It's really reliable. I have beat it like it owes me money every time the keys have been in it. You guys can see that in Solomon's The Ford Era video. I think I do like a 45-minute burnout, which I'm probably going to post with Craig's permission on F100 World. Please buy some T-shirts so I can buy some more tires.
There you go. Hey, man, we got to support each other,
That's right. But it's got the 4.6 in it right now. And I really, especially after hanging out with Ivan Korda and Danny Gill and CJ with all the, decent amounts of horsepower and stick shifts, I put in an order Friday. And Craig, this is going to be news to you, for everything I need to swap that 5-speed from Silver Sport into the truck right now. So the next show, the next whatever get together we do, I got to start banging gears again.
There you go.
But I promise I'm committed to doing burnouts at every show, regardless of.
Yeah, we're always down to have fun.
That's why I put cheap tires on the back.
Yeah.
I'm just going to melt them.
I'll be honest, CJ, you had the most like badass burnout, but Dan, you had the most prettiest. Like you were just like the one that I filmed anyway. You were like slowly going along the parking lot, but yet smoke was just billowing out the back. And you said something about your exhaust kind of helps that out a little bit because it's coming out the sides, or what's up? Because you had the most gorgeous burnout, compared to.
Yeah. So Solomon showed me the footage, and the truck has a dual 2.5-inch in, single 3-inch out that dumps right in front of the passenger side rear tire. So as smoke would start to build behind the tire, the exhaust would just push that smoke out. So the exhaust cloud got big really quick in terms of like, geographically it got really large. And yeah, to your point, it was slow and it was really planned out. As I mentioned, my kids come with us everywhere, and I had 4-year-old daughter with me, and she loves, they call it smokes, making smokes, and she loves doing burnouts. And so she's in Solomon's video. He actually walks up to the window and she's like kicking her legs, like she's super excited.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, I definitely was cognizant of the fact that I had my daughter with me and just did a kind of slow moving braked burnout. And I got a lot of comments like, "Well, there goes that set of tires," and
They look brand new.
yeah, quite frankly,
They still look brand new.
so I
That's
looked at the
crazy.
number on them. They're a 500 pattern wear, 500 wear pattern.
Trip
So
pattern.
yeah, I can probably get
At least 3 more of those.
yeah
burnouts
3
on
more of those. So that'll get us through the next show.
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a 28-year-old kid in the back of my truck doing donuts.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
There you go. Wow. Yeah, I saw. I think I filmed that one too, for sure. Yeah, that was awesome.
My buddy Brandon, he's always down. He's crazier than any of us. I'll just be honest with you.
Well, CJ, Dan, where can they find your company socials? And CJ, where can they find your socials? Like, so people can look up these. I mean, they already know Solomon probably. I've got a few of them, but where can they find these burnout videos, especially the future ones?
so I've got a couple. My personal page is at danman224, and then the Fab Shops page is real simple. It's at HueyFab, HueyFab.
And mine is at 69 Bumpside is my Instagram, and then on Facebook it's CJ Leonard. It says Whiskey Ben on the side there, the nickname there.
It was funny when we were eating at that Quaker steak, and I knew there was a little bit of burnout thing going down below. I was there, and I was like, "Is this really going to happen?" And my friends that were there were like, "Is this something that we need to stick around for?" And I was like, "I think so." And then I saw this guy, didn't know who he was, coming down the stairs with like one hand, I think he had some moonshine, and the other hand, a pitcher of beer. And I'm wondering how the heck he got the pitcher of beer from the place to down there. And I was just like, "This is going to be a good time for sure," But
They were complimentary.
It was very coordinated. Yeah, it was it was complimentary. Yeah.
That's cool.
The funny part, the best part of the night about the whole pitcher of beer, though, is I still have the pitcher, even though the cops showed up.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
I have to keep an eye on them.
Yeah, he's the
I'm the
ring.
designated dad.
That's why we call him Professor X, not because he's got a great head, but like he is. He keeps all of us in line.
That should be like your Instagram like profile pic or something. It's like you sitting in a wheelchair or something, and then like
Yeah.
we'll be like, Professor X, of course.
Well, that's what's cool is Craig, you kind of asked me at the show is like, so who all's involved in this? And I think I may have answered like anybody that wants to show up and stick around, because it started. It was me and Brandon Osborne, and we kind of jokingly I told CJ he's in marketing and sales. So don't let Paul fool you. He talked about his work truck that hauls gravel and still has drop beams, but he is next in the schedule. So I've got a 72. I think I'm doing a chassis for right now, and when I'm done with it, Paul is behind it, so he'll be rocking a Huey Fab chassis maybe next spring. We'll see. Well, the chassis will be done before that, but getting that big block out of there, which will be cool to see that 460. It's a 460. You're running 513. Yeah, so a 513 cube carved manual.
Straight
Yeah.
Totally.
Where can they find you to find that truck? Do you have an Instagram or anything, Paul?
Yeah, it's at P Barnett 865. I'm very creative in my screen names.
you guys all have great.
Yeah, he just created it.
I created it about a week ago, and I've gotten about 60 followers just from the F100 show.
Yeah.
It's been ridiculous. It's been crazy.
Yeah, guys, if you're listening and you haven't been to the Grand Nationals, let alone the other one that's in September, you need to go, because that is the most fun I've had at any show, whether it be Ford or other. So it's something, if you guys sitting here going, I need to get to the Grand Nationals, you need to go. Now's the time. 2020 boosted it up into something huge.
The one in September is going to be even better, because I can assure you the Huey Fab party is going to be unreal at English Mount Dragway.
It just continues to grow.
Yeah, it's going to get bigger and better, and we're all going to try to get us a whole street of cabins. So if y'all are planning on staying, We may have us a really good
That's a
time.
bad idea.
It's a very good
Don't
time.
If you want to talk trucks and look over trucks and potentially
go to jail.
Paul,
I could be like other people in line.
disclaimer: no one in this group has been to jail in the in our gatherings
Okay.
as a group.
Man, I was
I
worried.
thought you were about to lie to everybody. I was like, whoa.
Well, CJ, man, you talked that cop down pretty good there the first time.
It's kind of impressive.
You were the most coolest guy there. You're so chill. You talked down a cop, man.
Yeah, well, they're just like we are, man.
I'd
They got a job to do. Paul was trying to keep him from running the creek, getting tased. You know how he is. He was headed out. So, but those cops, man, they were just there doing what they were supposed to do, and we understand.
They've got it hard lately.
Yeah, they got a rough life anyway.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, he showed up and pulled up, and we all started slowly meandering to our trucks, and he's like, gets on his little intercom. He's like, "Stay here, don't move," or whatever kind of thing. So we all did. We're just all like,
everybody but Paul. Paul kept trying to go to the creek. I don't
I was
understand.
moonwalking through the grass.
The whole time I was thinking, there's so much smoke here. Like, you're not going to see us for at least 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, I could literally walk up to Quaker Steak and Lube right now,
Sit on the
and you'd
steps.
never see me because it's.
well, he rolled up, and he got some attitude with us as they do to make sure that we're not, up to no good. And he still had to ask, who was that? The cop. He's just like, who did that? And we're like, oh, you didn't see? Oh, okay.
And the perp had just parked his truck too.
Yeah.
So he was actually, and notice I said perp because I'm not going to say who it was. He was still in the process of parking his truck when they were pulling in.
It was graceful.
So there was so much smoke
graceful
that he couldn't even see who it was.
Yeah.
It literally, I have a friend that worked across the street over at the Roman Nome, and he texted me. He was like, man, it looks like that Quaker Steak is on fire. And we're like, dude, I'm sorry. It was really cool,
It's funny you say that because there was a fire truck that came by, like, right?
Yeah, well, Solomon had something worked out with the manager, and I'm almost.
Did he?
Yeah. I almost think maybe someone called the fire department because, it was. I mean, it was impressive.
It was a smoke show.
I was super proud of the group that came out, and because Solomon, we got down there, we'd finished eating. And I'd had like 37 pounds of wings. I was so full.
And you wouldn't drink beer with me.
Here we go. I think everybody was just full, like just eating supper. And Solomon's like, man, I'm ready to get some footage. Who wants to go first? And so he comes up to me. He's like, Dan, you want to get us kicked off? I'm like, be the first one to do a burnout here tonight. Solomon and Craig are running video. Abso-freaking-lutely.
Yeah.
So that was kind of why, like, looking back and looking at the video, I'm like, that's got to be the longest burnout of a truck that wasn't built for the purpose of doing burnouts. We're not at Summer Nats in Australia, right? I mean, this is a cruiser.
Oh, that's what.
And we're really thinking like an American version of Summer Nats.
That's what we need.
So actually, Ivan Korda and I have been talking about. So the fall show in Sevierville is the weekend before Ford Fest and Bowling Green. And we're just going to go back-to-back weekends. And Ford Fest they have a burnout competition, and there's rules. I've looked at the rules, and you get a full 60 seconds. And I'm thinking I'm going to get a set of auxiliary wheels and some cheap tires and see what old Frank the Tank can do.
I had a very bad issue that one time in the burnout contest.
Yeah.
I was hanging out the window in a Mustang I had, and I was doing the burnout contest, and I was fully planning on popping the tire. Well, when it blowed, I was hanging out the window, and it hit me on the side of the face.
Ooh. Is that why you're so ugly?
Yeah, that's what got happened. No.
It all makes sense now.
Yeah, it's coming together for you. But it was a great time though. But yeah, I'm game for burnout contest at any time. I just really was upset that there was so much smoke that we couldn't get the drifting around the light pole because they were perfect circles. Like they were perfect circles.
How'd you not hit the pole? Was it just looking up and seeing the light up above in the smoke?
I used to run drift car. That's what I did. I've done that for about 4 years before I started drag racing again. And I like to drive. It's something I like to do.
That'll be a testament to the Huey Fab work because CJ puts it to the ringer.
Yeah, I mean,
held up great.
Oh,
the only thing Huey Fab didn't touch is that T56, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
and it blew.
Well, actually, the transmission's fine.
The transmission's actually great. It's just the bell housing. The clutch is what failed. The clutch is what failed me.
Pressure plate.
The pressure plate come apart and come out.
That's another reason, guys. You're running a manual. Get that scatter shield, that bell
Scatter
housing
shield.
and steel. Yeah.
I didn't think I would need it because I didn't think I would be that hard on it, turned down. But it doesn't matter if you got 100 horsepower or 800 horsepower. It's still not a very good thing to not have one. I could have been hurt. Like it could have been bad. Like there's dents in the floorboard that if the big pieces would have came through, it would have probably cut my legs really, really bad. And it's
There's dents in the truck that was 20 feet away from you.
yeah. I mean, it was pretty. It was pretty bad. It don't look that bad because it happened so fast on camera, but I mean, it really.
Craig, I think you've got that footage. I think you're the
Oh
one.
yeah, guys, if you're listening, I'm gonna have that up on Critical Classic YouTube channel for sure, and I'm gonna post it raw on the Florida 400 World group.
Funny is, I thought it was my truck that blew up because
Yeah.
we were in the
I did
burnout
too.
box heating up the tires, and so first of all, 500 wear pattern tires, doesn't matter if you remember or not, but anyway, and I heard something doom hit the truck, and I let off, and a lot of people thought it was my truck that blew up. But I had just happened to look over and I saw this just spark show under CJ's truck, and I was really confused because I thought there's no way we just both broke our trucks at the same time.
Well, your truck actually let out a puff of smoke at about the exact same time.
Yeah,
And I thought, oh Lord,
that was smoke from the tires because
Dwight has blown up his truck.
Paul's got this bad habit of calling me every name he can other than Dan. It starts with a D.
It's not true, Dennis.
Well,
So tell me more about Huey Fab. You like helicopters? Is that what's going on?
So back to the origin story. As I'm deciding on, what do I want? And it's so easy to go with a name that doesn't stick or just doesn't have like a hook to it. And I just kept bouncing around. I was like, well, I want Fab in there because I'm not doing body work. I'm not painting trucks. Like I'll cut up and weld and fabricate anything you want me to. And so when I was in college, my wife, she called me Huey. My last name's Houston. I had a lot of friends at the time. In our group, there was actually two other Daniels, and so obviously you got a Daniel and a Dan. It's like, okay, well, what do we call the other guy? And so they all called me Hugh. And so it was just always Hugh. So she heard that and she started calling me Huey. And so I'm just trying to figure out, because I'm going to register this thing in the state. I'm going to create a brand around it. And so I just kind of said out loud one day, Huey Fab. It kind of sticks. It's got a ring to it. And so that's how Huey Fab came about. It's just that was my nickname from my wife, given to me by my wife in college 12 years ago. And I've gotten a lot of good feedback on it. Man, that's a good name. I like the logo, and it's kind of retro, but really simple. Nothing complex about it. You had kind of called out in the beginning of the pod that there's an American flag behind us, and very proud to be an American. So the colors of our primary colors are red, white, and blue. We've got a couple of spinoffs that are orange and white and black and blue, just based on the t-shirt.
And he still has shirts for sale too.
Yeah, just on social media. We don't have a website, so
Buy two, get a free beer.
Yeah. I pitched that one and it works.
So when I was walking around with my family, that's kind of the cool thing about Huey Fab is it's just, and organically kind of drawn some people in. And like I had, the t-shirt money. Obviously you're selling shirts for $15. You get an envelope full of fives. We had a few $100s worth of fives, and just like CJ, I just handed the envelope and said, hey, I'm going to walk my kids around the show. Do you mind watching the tent? And it was just like I come back and CJ selling, all right, 2 shirts for $30 and you get a cold beer. And so he's
And it worked.
yeah, him and Paul and there's just a group of people that have just kind of I've done work for, and they kind of show up to get their trucks worked on and never leave. And
He's stuck with me for a while.
yeah, but I mean that in a positive way. Is like that's and Craig, you and I talked about this at the show. It very quickly went from how can I make a little money on the side and also scratch the itch of building and creating something, to again very quickly turn it into, man, I want to develop a brand that kind of encapsulate what this F100 community means. Like I said, we showed up with like 6 trucks, and by the end of the weekend, we had 10 or 12 trucks riding around with us everywhere we went, and it was just, man, it's so overwhelming and really, really encouraging to keep doing what you're doing and keep driving to network and support the community. And that's why you see what Solomon's done and how much he's put into it in the past couple of years.
Oh yeah,
his channel, and Craig, what you're doing with your stuff, and now the podcast is just like, And I had to pinch myself when you reached out to me. He's like, "Hey, you want to do some pod?" I mean, I think
I was like, he messaged me, and I'm like, okay, what's a podcast? And I'm redneck. I'm from a road called Sockless. I mean, it don't get much more redneck than that. I mean,
so it's been neat, and I think I really feel comfortable about just the organic nature of who we're associating ourselves with, and
it doesn't matter where you're from.
No.
Like we got a buddy, Matt Price. He sent us a picture today or posted on social media wearing a Huey Fab shirt, and he lives in Indiana. And then you got Danny that's plumb up. He drove 16 hours?
Yeah, New Hampshire.
And that was
From
plumb
to New
up,
Hampshire,
by the
and
way.
then
plumb up.
Yeah, plumb up yonder. And then you got Brandon that he's from Boston. So I mean, it's all those guys were super. Doesn't matter where you're from. I mean, we just all fit in together. It doesn't.
Yeah, through this, I mean, I've got brothers in states that I've never been to. And it's been neat. And I can't be prouder of what's going on and where it's going to go. And I think I said, and I don't want to kind of overlap.
What happens when he surrounds himself with great people?
As he's pointing to himself. I may have said this in in some of the YouTube content that you're going to put out. It's just I'm super tickled with what this has turned into, and I want it to be a brand. I want people to wear those shirts, and if they show up to the tent at a show and they're thirsty, we got water in the cooler, Gatorade in the cooler, whatever CJ brought, grab you one. You want to get some shade, share it with us. We're about the community of it.
The first day, I had a full jar sitting on the dash, and everybody thought it was water. Until about the third person walked up, and I was like, just get you a swig.
It was not water.
It was not water. It was legit moonshine. So if you ever see my truck sitting there and you want a swig, you're more than welcome to it. If you think you can handle it, just get you one.
You could use that as paint thinner too, man. That stuff is intense.
I actually have run it through my truck before.
He was running low.
Yeah, I actually have done that, and that's no joke.
What's the content at?
It's like 110.
Yeah, 110 proof.
That jar that day was a little hot. It was around 120 that day actually. I like a little bite to my day sometimes.
That's awesome, man. That's cool. It's the hooch, man. It's the hooch.
That's the hooch. That's it.
Alrighty, so you guys, man, we can share some freaking cool stories talking about beer. I gotta ask, man, CJ, what's your favorite? What's your beer choice, man? What do you drink?
You said it. Beer.
Just beer.
Beer.
I've seen you drink like 11 different
everything but Modelo. That's for weird people. Weird people drink Modelo.
I like Mexican beer.
I didn't even know how to say it. And
it's good. So CJ alert for you, Greg, because I'm sure we'll see you again at the next show or whatever. If CJ says, "Do you want to have a beer with me?" and you interpret that to mean a beer, he's going to show up with a pitcher. So just so we understand, what levels of a beer is, he's a giver. He's a generous man when it comes to alcohol.
He's a generous man.
Well, I wrote down as a business note, sell cold beer with t-shirt sell. You know what I mean? Like
you're
perfect.
You'd be surprised. So unofficially, we didn't do any of that because we don't have a beer liquor license.
No, but, I know, yeah.
You'd be surprised how many people were like, "Oh, there's cold beer." Yeah, I'll take two.
Yeah, it was
like borderline, maybe like the shirt, but if there's a cold beer, I'm sold. Yeah.
And by Saturday, there was people coming down there looking for shirts with beer. At this point, I mean, it was like awesome, man.
Nor deny.
So, stories of trucks, everything like that. You guys talked about your truck a little bit. We talked about that 460 Paul, your LS motor, and CJ there. But why did you guys? Why Ford truck? Is it a family history? Is it just? Why Ford trucks? Why Ford?
I'd say it's family history. It's a combination of things. I mean, obviously, like I said, my papa, big Ford guy. But additionally, for me, I've kind of always been intrigued by Ford's ability to kind of push the envelope in terms of what they're putting out, and definitely not putting down, the other two big American automotive providers. But push rod technology at this point is like 70 years old, and
we're still making power.
Ford.
Oh, that hurt, didn't it?
We're still making.
You need to figure out which side of the fence
we're still making power with push rods.
But Ford. Ford with the EcoBoost stuff is cool. I mean, quite frankly, I love the sound of the VA. You won't see me throw anything with less than 8 cylinders in it into a toy. But even then, just their push for things, it's always really intrigued me. I just like the fact that, with 302 cubic inches, Ford just continues to just put out. John Mihovitz with AccuFab has made ridiculous horsepower with 281 cubes.
I'll be 100% honest with you. If I can get somebody to throw me one of those Australian 4.0 liter straight sixes,
the Bara.
I would totally yank the LS out. So if anybody watching this has one, I will gladly yank the LS out today and put the straight six in there, like today. So
this is a pretty good marketing ploy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm dead
I will
serious.
take my Chevy motor out of my truck.
I will
send me an Australian turbo 6-cylinder
out of the Falcon.
All right, where can they find you, CJ? To drop your Instagram again.
69 Bumpside.
At 69
Bumpside. And I will be more than happy to yank that Chevrolet motor out of there.
Meet us at the Speedway on Deep Springs Road.
You may be onto something here.
Yeah, man, I'm telling you, I've wanted one of those motors so bad. I've contemplated when I built the truck of putting a 2J in it.
Yeah,
I really did, and I was like, because they sound almost exactly alike. And
there's a couple of guys in Australia that are building F100s with Bara motors.
Yeah, and they're awesome, man. They are awesome. I don't know if you guys have seen them, but you should check it out because those motors are super impressive. I mean, they are super impressive, but they are super expensive also. So
yeah.
What do you think
about the Coyotes?
Oh, I love anything. These guys give me a hard time. I'll drive. I rode up here to Daniel's house in a Coyote. So I mean, it's like, hey, it is what it is.
Complain the whole way.
Yeah, I mean, as long as
wait. Was that your girlfriend's pink car that you drove? Is that what you're talking about?
No.
Who's the other girlfriend, Paul?
Yeah, my other girlfriend, Paul here. He's got a 5.0.
Watch your damn mouth.
He's got a 5.0. Hey, we talked about this equal rights shit. So
No, CJ did pull it. So CJ rode here in a 5.0 Coyote.
I did.
Parked behind a 1970 Coyote swapped F100.
I did.
Which is parked directly behind a full frame swap 08 Vic 69 F100. Because I have more work to do right now than I can keep up with. But yeah, he likes Ford stuff.
I like Ford stuff. Man, I run a twin turbo small block Ford for a long time, and I just kept busting blocks, and that's one reason I went to an LS. It was just because it was cheaper, and I was tired of throwing money at it.
People always tell me that that the LS was based off the Windsor, and that they attempted to go to Ford and Dodge first before Chevy. So if that's true, then there you go. Maybe people can just lay off the LS a bit.
Look at them; they look like an old Ford. I mean, they're side old. I mean, it's just
there's some old internet threads out there where people took Windsor to LS on is reversed.
There's a guy that took I think a 351 Windsor and put LS heads on it, and he had to modify some things. For example, like the bolt, probably different sizes, so on and so forth. But I think he had to do something to make the push rods fit. Like he had to do something to make the push rods line up. But I mean,
that thread,
the combustion chamber, all that. It's just crazy. It's like, all right, Chevy engine, I guess.
I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's Nissan, Toyota, Ford, Chevrolet, Dodge. I've had one of all of them, and I like them all, man. It's just these guys have to do something to give me shit about.
That's it. If he had a single turbo Coyote in that truck, we'd find something else.
We'd find something wrong with it.
Because he's just one of those guys that needs
Then it'd be because I'm overweight, so I keep the LS because that way nobody knows I'm fat. See, that's how it works.
I mean, look at the size of it.
Yeah, I mean, my head don't even fit the screen, man.
What size hat did you give?
Yeah, this is the biggest one we had. Shut up.
And it's on the
it's on the last two notches. Like it is.
After this,
all this knowledge I've got up there.
I told him he's going to be on the air.
Oh God. So yeah, back to why Ford though. We'll start with Dan. Like why Ford? You said family and so on and so forth.
Yeah, again, I just really impressed with Ford is constantly pushing the envelope, and in some ways the underdog a lot of times with smaller cube motors. In the early 2000s, which is when I really started it. I was in my teenage years, and SVT was at the pinnacle of the Ford performance existence with the Terminator and the Lightning and the Harley truck, and just that really excited me, and it's that's really where it got ingrained. So I kind of inherited the Ford love from my grandfather, and then as I became about getting into cars and hot rods and stuff, just what Ford was doing at the time really intrigued me, and like I said, got into late model Mustangs. The going fast thing was a ton of fun. saw an old Ford truck, and I thought, man, I remember when Papa had one of those. It'd be really cool if that thing could do everything a Mustang does, but be a truck. Because, I mean, how ironic is that? And my truck's a old patinaed, beat up kind of farm truck that I bought in Jackson, Mississippi, but everything underneath it's got 6,000 miles on it, and I like that irony of, man, it looks like an old farm truck, but it's really low to the
pass them on
ground.
the interstate running 90, and they're like, "What?"
But it's really low to the ground, and it is passing everything on the interstate. So I just love that. I've just never really seen myself driving a C10 or a D100, although the D100s look pretty neat. But
Yeah,
I've just always been a Ford guy.
I was just saying, Coyote swap D100. That sounds interesting.
hey, there you go. Coyote swapped the world. Am I right?
Amen.
Oh shit.
So, Dan, you're talking about family, and is that a tattoo? Say family.
Yeah, there's all my tattoos have a story, and
Mine too.
there were some more difficult years before these years where family didn't always mean blood. So
Yeah, well, sometimes putting your Ford trucks together through hard times is what gets you through those hard times too. And maybe your hard times is why you're hitting so hard with Huey. You know what I mean? So.
Oh yeah, I've had multiple offers for, quite frankly, ludicrous money for what I think this truck's worth. But my oldest son, he's 7, and he was 3 or 4 when we tore it apart. And I've got all the pictures of him sitting in it and handing me tools and helping me take things apart. Before an interior was ever in it, I'd be wiring under the hood or doing something. Him and my daughter would sit in the truck and play and pretend. And there's so many memories associated with this truck and my kids that I just don't see a reality where I ever let it go. I may sell the chassis and everything under, but the sheet metal is going to stay forever.
Yeah, totally. CJ, my man. By the way, thanks for rocking that hat. Looks good. I'm going to change up the design a bit and probably send you something, man.
Cool. Awesome.
Why Ford trucks for you?
My whole life growing up, my papa, which was a big part of my life growing up, he was actually a certified Ford tech since he was in the 70s. And I always grew up around Fords. I can remember whenever I was a kid, he brought home one of the new 86 SVO Mustangs, and I was just like, oh, this is pretty neat. You know what I mean? This was cool, a turbo Mustang and stuff, but he always had Ford trucks. In the garage, that's what we worked on a lot. My first vehicle was actually a German Merkur with a 2.3 turbo 4-cylinder in it that we built and stroked.
Wow.
And put in Ford Ranger. And I wrecked it before I even got it like 2 miles from the house. So doing burnouts. But
so that's how you got so good at burnouts then.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm good at it, but
Learn the hard way.
I learned the hard way for sure. My grandmother, she always had Ford cars, and I can remember she taught special education forever. And I would go to school with her and stuff through this, when she would do summer classes and stuff for those kids. And she had an old Thunderbird with a 429 in that thing. And I'm telling you, Mama drove like you wouldn't believe. Like, it was mainly because she couldn't see and she didn't know how to let off the gas pedal. And we just had an awesome time with it. And it was fantastic as far as, getting a ride around those old Ford stuff. And I can remember that Thunderbird. I can remember sitting on the hood, and all that. And then I got to drive that F100 back when I was learning to drive. I was probably like 10. And my dad had a blue one. It was that old faded blue with a 3-speed. And he stuck me in it. And he said, here. And we live on 200 acres. So it was kind of like, hey, I can go out there and learn to drive in the field. And I don't have to worry about running over nobody. So I learned to drive a 3-speed on the tree out in a big field. So it just meant a lot when I found this truck. It was setting up in a field up in Cott County. And I was just like, man, I have to have it. I actually went there to buy a 66 Chevrolet truck the guy had. And when I seen the F100, when I pulled up, I was like, nope, that's what I'm taking home. So that's how I ended up with it. And but Ford has always been a huge part. They've always been tough. We've used them on the farm our whole lives. That's all we've always had an old Ford farm truck. And it's just those 306 cylinders with a Bulldog 4-speed, you can't kill them, man. I mean, that's like the ultimate work truck in the world. They're there. They'll be there when like the world's come to an end. Like they'll still run. I swear.
Cockroaches, Twinkies.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, it's like I had a Bronco, a full size that I got later on. I was probably 12, and it was lifted on 38s, and it was just an old rough truck. But I'm telling you, that 306 cylinder would ride the best wheelies, getting that clutch popping. And I mean, it was just the funnest thing. And I never thought it would last more than a week. and I had it for years.
Kept surprising
It,
me.
I actually ended up slinging the rod out of it. I went to decoration at the church out there at the graveyard, and I drove it, and I was going to do this burnout. Okay, I slung the rod out of it through the block, and it bent. I drove it 3 miles home with the rod hanging out of the block, just beating the crap out of everything. And I was like, okay, 306 cylinder, that's where it's at. They're never going to die. Like you could, and it was the best thing ever. Yeah.
Yeah. I had a buddy, he wanted to put a V8 in his, I think it was like, I don't remember what year. And he's like, I'm going to blow up this engine so my dad will, put a V8 in there. And he ran it with no oil. And the sucker just kept going, dude. It just kept going. So he's like, after a while, he was like, all right, I guess I'm going to keep this. And then he suddenly was this huge fan of the solid.
It's a sign from God.
I'm a believer. I'm a believer. My dad to this day has a square body Ford F1, the F100 Ranger, like the first of the 80s with a 306 cylinder 4-speed. And we pull everything you can think of. Now, it don't stop it real great, but it will literally pull whatever you want it to. But it's just, I don't know. It's one of those things that I've always had Ford stuff, and everybody knocks me for putting a Chevrolet in them. And like I said, it ain't because I think Chevrolet is any better than Ford or Ford's any worse than anything else or Dodge or whatever. It's just cheap horsepower. LS, everybody on here, you cannot deny you can build LS for a quarter of what it would cost you to make the same power out of a Ford motor.
Why do you think, like everyone says it's based off of Windsor, why do you think the Windsors can't keep up?
I wouldn't say they can't keep up. I've got a buddy that's got Windsor-based stuff.
There you go.
They run really well.
I'm glad you said that. That's the exact answer I wanted right there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna knock none of them. Like I said, there's some fast Fords for sure. I've come up. I had a buddy come down on. He come down from, I think it was Massachusetts or New York, somewhere's right in there, and he entered a small tire event, and he had a bad 331, and it was on a lot of spray, and that thing was just unreal, man. I mean, he was.
That's hot rodding, though. I mean, if we all did everything the same,
yeah.
If I had a Coyote, I wouldn't even like Daniel. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't. Paul stays on me constantly. Like Daniel, he lives far enough away. Paul lives close enough. I have to hear it every day. It's one of those things.
We all appreciate Paul and his groundwork. And
yeah.
There you go. Hey, Paul, why Ford trucks for you, dude?
Very first car I ever owned was a Ford Mustang.
Yeah, Festiva.
The best car I've ever owned was a Ford Festiva, the Festarossa. We were actually talking about that on the way up here, about how really what makes a good car isn't about the way it looks or the way it runs or the way it drives. It's about the name. If you have a good name for a car, it becomes a member of the family. So yeah, best car I've ever owned was a Ford Festarossa. Ford trucks. I had a friend in high school that had a blue. I can't even remember the year now. It was a bump side with 351 modified in it, and we had so much fun in that truck that when I had an opportunity to pick up something, I needed a truck. Every other truck I looked at was pretty much out of my price range, it seemed like. Go out and buy a newer vehicle or anything. And so I just figured if I'm going to put that much money into something, I'm going to buy something that's going to appreciate value rather than depreciate. And so I bought my truck, and I actually used it as a truck. I've hauled mulch in it. I was telling them I went one time and picked up 2 scoops of gravel, and the guy that was running the Bobcat, he wouldn't put it in the back of my truck. He was like, I can't do this. I needed a truck. This is the truck I bought. I actually already had a 67 before I bought this current one. And I've just always loved Ford trucks. It's just always been, it's who I am.
That's cool. I mean, that's cool because sometimes it's family, sometimes it's just like that truck or that Ford just impresses you. You know what I mean? Like,
I've always kind of pulled for the underdog, and it seems like most people that I know or kind of ran around with were all Chevrolet guys.
Mm-hmm.
And so being who I am, and if you meet me, I really kind of like to, I don't know, argue. And so if I have an opportunity to do something a little bit different than everybody else is doing, that's kind of the way that I go.
Yeah, I wasn't going to use that word earlier, but now I just feel like Ford's always tried to do more with less.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, look at that 29 beam, dude. They stuck to that to like 97 or something like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Way better than a Crown Vic swap, if you ask some people. I mean, just saying, Andrew Peterson knows exactly what we're talking about.
Oh, so basically, Paul, you're still rocking, like you said, basically 29 beam. You're still, what'd you say is in the rear?
It's a 9-inch. I did a rear hanger flip on it.
Okay.
And, it's pretty much old school. I've got a set of DJM Dream Beams in it with, really, that's it. It's got disc brakes all the way around on it. And
Did you do the Explorer spring swap to drop it even more?
No, I didn't. I really didn't want to put any more camber in the front of it. They're kind of hard on the inside of the tires anyways. And so I didn't go that route. I've considered it, but I really like the way my truck sits now. But who knows what I'll do tomorrow.
It drives really good to have all that stuff, to be honest with you. I drove him home the other night, and after I tore my truck up, he felt bad for me. So he's like, "You can drive mine home, buddy." And I'm like, "Oh man, I appreciate it." So
I felt bad, but I didn't.
Did you do donuts?
no, I didn't get on it not one time. I actually drove it I don't drive other people's stuff like I do mine.
Yeah,
So Paul legitimately is on the book for some Huey Fab work. Potentially the next time you see his truck, it'll have some upgraded components in terms of the voice phone, rack and pinion.
Drop that Instagram again, Paul.
It's P Barnett 865. I'm real killshots.com with a Z.
He has photography. He does photography.
Oh heck yeah. There you go. Yeah, guys, help support your fellow truck Ford guys. Hit them up if you guys want some Ford content. Comment F100 Talk, Solomon. But then again, you got these three guys: CJ, Paul, and Dan. So definitely hit them up.
Solomon actually is watching this and sees that I'm still in need of some QA1 rear stuff. Like Ivan's truck is what I'm going for. So.
Solomon, man, you need to follow suit, dude. Where you at? Where you at?
So yeah, I'm trying. He's a dealer, so
he's a busy man.
Well, CJ, what do you have? You mentioned already probably, but what do you have in suspension wise?
I got Andrew Peterson's coilover front set up.
Tell people about that. A lot of people don't know what that is.
Man, he builds the brackets and stuff. He uses Viking coilovers.
Double
adjustables, which are very nice. The ride quality is great. He'll tune them for however you really want it. Like if you, like me, I like a little more stiffness and aggressive driving, but you can get them however you want it, really.
I think his website is f100performance.com.
Yep.
And it's a kit.
It's a kit. You bolt it in. If you buy you can buy the brackets and everything. He's got camber bolts and stuff that he actually sells with it to get you got to slot your Crown Vic front end to get the bolts in there to get your camber out and stuff. Which it worked out great. Of course, this guy over here, he's the one that done the front end for me and stuff. And then under the back, I've got a built 9-inch 35 spline chromoly axles from Dutchman. They actually cut and custom made me some. I broke the first set, so I called them and they hooked me up on the second set, which was like pretty cool. So I've got
Huey Fab C nuts in the back,
yeah,
monster nuts.
Yep, monster Huey Fab C nuts in the back. Because I plan on going lower with it one day, but then it's got Right Stuff brake kit stuff on the back with slotted rotors and stuff. And it seems really good. I've redone all the brake setup and stuff, all stainless steel braided lines. Pirate Jack Brakes over in North Carolina, they actually hooked me up with a nice small booster and everything. It worked out. They're big. They sell a kit for F100s, so they do it's really cheap. Like honestly, it's very good quality for the money you're getting. It's got a full spool in the rear end as well. It's set up for track and street use. It's got a 444 gear in it right now when I had a 6-speed, but I'm going to this 2-speed glide, so I'm going to drop it down to a 325 and still plan on driving on interstate and stuff. So yeah, I'll still be able to take it to the shows.
Heck yeah, man! I can't wait to see the videos and some burnouts and running down the drag strip.
I'd like to do some rolling burnouts about 60 alongside this guy over here, so we'll see what happens.
That would be epic, dude. You should totally do that.
He's going to get some
Craig,
videos.
You'll have to ride with me, Craig.
I will, yeah, for sure. So let's see here, Dan, man, you already told us you have, what would you say, an 8.8 in the rear and all that stuff. Tell us more in detail about your suspension, all you've done.
Yeah, so it's a 2.5-inch frame Z up front, which is just old school mini truck and stuff. It's Crown Vic swapped, of course. It's got RideTech coilovers. I went with RideTech because they had a shorter lead time, but I'll probably be upgrading to Andrew's stuff pretty soon. The rear is an 8.8, as you mentioned. It's got a Yukon limited slip in at 14 gear. It's a 98 to 02 Crown Vic, which is a 65-inch wheel mounting surface side to side versus 03 to 1170. So I get that question a lot, so it's probably good to put that on the pod.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Yeah,
you get a lot more wheel options. So I've got some stepped lips in the rear. It looks real good, running 19-inch by 11 back there, and it's a front spring perch flip and an axle flip. So it works really well. I'm only going to a 4-link because I drove Ivan Cordes' truck, which is a purpose-built QA1 full suspension that just throwing that thing into turns just feels great. So new chassis is going to have a 4-link, but that front perch flip and the axle flip with that limited slip, man, it's just fun. It does really good burnouts, rides well. I probably hauled 600 or 700 pounds of stuff down to the show in the back of this truck, and like Paul said, it's still a truck. I haul garbage off in it. I pick up mulch in it. I brought some appliances. We got new appliances last year. I brought them home in this truck, and same deal. The guys at Lowe's loading them up. We're really conflicted about putting a refrigerator in the back of this whole thing. It works and it's functional, and it's pretty good fun when it comes to spinning tires and make smoke.
Did you see that guy at the Grand Nationals that had coolers on each side of his bed for beer?
I did. That's actually that's a buddy of mine.
Yeah.
And a buddy through the truck shows. I only know him from trucks, and that truck has a 2-bar NASCAR suspension in the back with the legitimate coil overs where you just
adjust the nuts.
Yeah, use an impact wrench with a 1/2-inch drive to adjust the height, and so it ate up a lot of the bed space. He said, "Man, I can't waste that space." So they threw a couple beer coolers in it, and they are quite functional.
They work fantastic. You got beers for days in there. Let me just tell you. Trust me, he was
fit
more
a case in each one of them.
Yeah, you can fit a case in each one of them. There's 2 of them, so he really kept us supplied over the weekend.
I asked him, I was like, why do you have them on both sides? He goes, well, in case I'm drunk and I'm on the wrong side of the truck, I have, I can grab them at either end.
He told me the same thing. I was like, what scenario are you in where you empty 48 beers? He goes, if I'm drunk and I'm on the wrong side of the bed, I don't walk around it.
Which is epic, brilliant.
Problems.
I mean, he's got it solved, though. I mean, really, he's a genius.
Now, Dan, you're a fab guy. You're doing all your research on suspension and all that stuff. You know a lot of stuff people don't know, so on and so forth. What is your preference, 4-link, 3-link, or what do you think about the difference between the 2 of them?
So, I really like, 4-links are really popular, I think, because they're easy to put in.
Simplicity?
Yes. I think 3-link suspension doesn't get the attention it deserves. For example, QA1 built their entire stuff around that torque arm, which I won't mention the car that competed with the Mustang that also used a torque arm.
That Camaro, F-body.
Okay, so it just works.
Edit that out. Edit that out.
The S197 Mustangs have a 3-link, and with the 8.8 having that third member on the pumpkin helps a lot with just traction and wheel hop and things of that nature. So while I have every intention of going with a 4-link in my truck, I actually today started kind of mapping out and drawing out a 3-link, just because I really like what a torque arm can do. I'm telling you, man, driving one of these trucks with a torque arm in it was inspiring, in terms of like the input you give it. The truck just squats and moves out, and I'm not in a position to kind of promote or push any brand.
But it's talked me into it already.
But I've talked CJ into it, and that's kind of me. I'm not like loyal to anything, It's like, what do you want? I'll help you do the research because I like to read and learn things. And man, that torque arm setup in Ivan's truck it just feels so good.
That's cool. What do you guys think about bags? CJ, for you and more in racing aspect, which I assume no airbags for racing, but Dan, on regards to fabrication and suspension, what do you guys think about the airbag?
I think it's like with anything, you always hear if you want to go fast, you pick 2 out of the 3, fast, reliable, and cheap. And you pick 2, you don't get the third one. With bags, it's the same. I used to be a big mini trucker. I've had a couple of bagged vehicles. And when you buy the cheap stuff, it's horrible. It's terrible. It doesn't work appropriately. I've had fittings bust, airlines bust, bags bust.
And you're stuck.
And you're stuck. And it rides terrible, but there's some really high-end stuff out there that is just incredible. And it's like anything else. Bags are as good as what you put into it, from a financial standpoint. I've ridden in trucks that had air ride suspension that rode incredibly well. And I've ridden in trucks that had coilover suspensions that rode incredibly bad. So it's just making sure everything works together appropriately in terms of spring rate and the adjustability on your shock absorber. And when you put bags in, you don't have that spring. So a good quality bag is important. So, and I talk to people, I get a lot of questions on social media, and I even have people go, hey, listen, I'll pay you X amount if you'll answer these questions. Man, that's not what this is about. I'll answer based on my experience. And my experience is if you have a really small budget and you want to get all this done in that small budget, you're probably not going to be satisfied with what your outcome is. But if you have a goal, we can kind of build a budget around that, and it would make a lot of sense, although it may take a little more time to do it. Because, for me, we're just a small little moonlight shop, and I don't ever want someone to go home and be dissatisfied with what they got, whether it's because they didn't fully understand what they were getting, or I just didn't give them enough information for them to understand what they were getting. But yeah, I think hey, to answer your question, airbags are great when you spend the money, just like coilovers are great when you spend the money. You can go cheap on anything and be disappointed.
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people, though, minus the airbags, which I assume can do this or whatever, but it's about getting as much of that horsepower and torque to the road, when it comes to suspension.
I'm running cow tracks on my truck, and they've actually really surprised me.
I want to do that. Like, I want to go 3-link and thought about 4-link, but I've thought about just doing some cow tracks just to find out what I need and what I want, before moving on.
Guys are super fast on cow tracks now.
Yeah, that's some old school tape. They've been around forever.
Yeah.
And if they've been around for a long time, then obviously they work.
Yeah.
Well, Craig, I know you're intrigued to see the full potential of I-beams. So I'm curious if cow tracks wouldn't be a compliment to.
Yes, like I'm kind of like Paul in the ass, even though he's swapping to a whole other frame, but in suspension or whatever, is that like I kind of want to see how far we can push the I-beam, and I really think Caltrax is awesome in regards to keeping your leaf springs, right? But I mean, leaf springs, we've pretty much figured that out. But yeah, I've thought about really wanting to keep it. I'm trying to do some things to make stuff work. It's not going to happen because I-beams are, I mean, they're great for runners, that type of. But when it comes to performance, taking those corners, it's going to be hard for me to do that. But there's a couple options out there, keeping those people that don't want Crown Vics, but they do want to get rid of their I-beams, or they don't want to run the Dream beams and so on. So yeah, but I'll at least make videos of why you can't run certain things like rack and pinion with I-beams. So
yeah, no, that's a great outlet too, and it's a really healthy one because I think we went to the Crown Vic thing several years ago with this fits, but what are the caveats? And then we learned that it's wide, so your wheel options are limited, but a little bit of measuring, a little bit of fender rolling, you can get quite a bit tucked under there. I've got 19 by 8.5 up front. And with the right offset, I'm going to say almost get full lock to lock on each side. So it can be done, but like you said, it's just sometimes you can't come out of things and go, maybe we learn more why we shouldn't do that.
Exactly. Yeah. Sometimes you got to find out where you want something and how you want it before you go out and buy something you don't know what you need, But also, along with it, there's a lot, like the F100 you mentioned earlier, like it's still kind of new, the whole community in regards to especially the aftermarket aspects. And that's a conversation everyone talks about a lot, but reality is like we need to grow it. And there are a level of people, you're probably aware of this, Dan, that hit you up and they don't want the full-on thing that everyone else has. They kind of want something different. And people like Paul, and he kind of wants to do that. He kind of wants to keep a little bit of what came out from factory, but also make it better. And if that means getting a new suspension setup made to his liking from Huey Fab, then there you go. We just need to get more options out there for those F100s.
Yeah, the good thing for Paul is I think he plans on keeping the 513.
Amen.
Carb with the 4-speed in it. I mean that's going to be new for me too because we haven't built a chassis around one of those. So
it's a lot of weight.
Yes, but it's going to be fun. Because if you think about how heavy Panther chassis cars are, that weight may be really complementary to stock coilover rates that come in those Crown Vic fronts. But it's you're right. It is. We keep talking about it's the F100 community in the sense of what the focal point of it is right now, which is it's kind of having this handoff of the fat fender builds with kind of the older generation of 302s and really crisp interiors and awesome paint jobs. Kind of the younger generation of not so much concerned with how pretty my paint is, but how does it perform. And there's some really cool builds out there, and quite frankly, they're inspiring, in terms of what you can get out of a truck these days. And it's still new, and there's a lot of energy around it. And I'm just trying to take my place in line for, what we can do. I don't expect to make a career out of Crown Vic swaps and C notches and things of that nature. But
people have, man.
Yeah, but what does it turn into next? So I'm just kind of enjoying the current chapter of this journey, and Golly, for all we know, we don't know what's around the corner.
Yeah. What are you guys playing? Footsie there? What's going on?
Well, I think he's got some.
They're overreacting to my.
He just
outlook.
touched my heart with that whole big thing right there. Like I think Paul's over here teared up in the corner, and it's just like, man, he you can tell from that statement right there that this man is passionate about what he does.
I don't know.
Very much so.
I don't.
There you go.
More times than I don't on labor because I just can't do anything that's not,
Yeah, he is a perfectionist. I'll just tell you, this guy, it's crazy. So
we need more fabricators like you, man.
Very passionate about what he does. I promise you, if you come here and he done something for you and you're not satisfied and you tell this man that you're not satisfied with it, I will almost guarantee you that he will stand behind it 120% and fix it better than you could ever thought. And that's
there you go.
Come pick it up.
That's what I'm saying. That's just from me dealing with him on the perspective. And I've dealt with a lot of people as far as building stuff and everything. And he's like what you just heard him say is how he actually is every day. It's not just he's on here blabbing off a bunch of crap about how he feels about it. That's how he lives.
Not just lip service.
It's not lip service. It's him. It's him being who he is.
I got a couple trucks.
He does have lip service on the side, but that's whole different thing. So
edit that out. Edit that out.
Yeah, when I met you, dude, and CJ as well, but like genuine, like that would be the word, dude. Like before I even learned about your company, I was interested in knowing more, whether that was your truck or you or the company. You're genuine, dude. With the skin head and the beard, dude, you're badass looking too.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Yeah,
he's a teddy bear.
And man, I appreciate that. And it's just I tell you, I try to be what I expect out of other people, and not to recycle the golden rule, but
unlike Chevy guys.
Yeah, you know what you get with those guys. You know what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
There's so many more of them. They come in crowds.
There you go. Yeah. No, I was going to say about paint jobs and stuff. We're getting down to performance and leaving that patina or not getting too worried about, keeping the history of that truck or the story. Like, for example, man, when that piece of clutch hit the side of your truck, Dan, like, it was just kind of fun. It was funny. It wasn't like, oh my God, kind of thing. So
I like the bill you sent me yet.
It's a little. It's not true.
Besides the bezel, you're gonna have to swap them or whatever.
No, because it's a little more personality and it's a story. I mean, there's gonna be people that go, "Hey, what happened here?" Like my fender and my cow is a little dented up because the previous owner bought it from a farmer and he was backing out of the barn with the driver door open and he kinked it. So I mean, I had to put a new door on it, fix the hinge pockets, but. There's a story to every ding and dent on the truck, and that one's, man, that's when I'll be, oh, yeah, well, I was hanging out with Craig from F100 World. We were at the drag strip. CJ, who put a Chevy motor in his Ford truck, blew the bell housing up, threw a piece of it at my truck, and that's what happened. So, kids, lesson learned here. Ford and Ford, Chevy and Chevy.
There you go. All right, cool. This is awesome, guys. I'm going to wrap it up here. We could talk for freaking hours about Ford trucks, but we talked about your suspension, we talked about your company, we talked about the Chevy engine, and we talked about Paul's stock stuff, but most of all, we talked about the stories, the family, and the heritage, and everything like that goes along with these trucks. Like your kid sitting there, what'd you call them, doing smokies or whatever? Like that's what they call it. Like those are memories, dude, that she's gonna, or any of your kids are gonna pass down to the people like that, and that's pretty cool stuff, dude. So before we end this, Dan, CJ, Paul, let's do the socials again so they can find you. Where can they find these burnouts, these future videos?
So my personal is at danman224, and then the shop's page is at hueysfab.
They're going to go ahead and find probably more of your. Are you ever going to do a website for Huey or anything like that down the road?
We really need to, because we're selling merch, and I've actually got a couple of things that this whole idea started with a bolt-in adjustable trans cross member for Tremec transmissions and slip over C notches, and so one day I'll offer those things. So yeah, we'll get a website started, but there's other builds. We've got a full build going. It's hashtag the Johnny Cash build. It's black on black truck. There's a lot more content than just our trucks on there. So
yeah, if you ever have anything you want me to talk about or review and post on 4400 World, dude, hit me up for sure. Be happy to do it.
Oh, absolutely, man. I appreciate that.
CJ, man, how can they find you?
My Instagram's at 69 Bumpside. That's where I put most of my stuff. My Facebook, I share a lot of it too. It's CJ Leonard, what it is on Facebook, and that's Whiskey Bent is the nickname on there. So should be able to pull up either way. You'll see all kinds of stuff in my truck. We do a lot of Crown Vic dirt track racing in the fields, which is pretty good time. We're always posting something. So if you just want to follow the truck, or if you just want to watch some crazy shit go down, I mean, we've got you covered either way.
There you go.
So,
all right, Paul, what about you, man?
I'm actually the social media idiot of the group. So mine is it's at pbarnett865. And then I have my photography stuff on killshots.com. That's killshots with a Z.
There you go. If you guys are, in the Tennessee area and you want some shots of your trucks, even if they are Chevys, I'm pretty sure Paul will hook you up, man. If you guys,
we do better pictures of slow trucks like that.
yeah.
I like Paul out of the best out of all of you, man. Now,
We do too.
Yeah, that's the problem. We do too.
well, that's cool, guys. Thanks for taking the time doing this. CJ, thanks for wearing that hat, man. I appreciate it. Paul, man, thanks for at least for a while keeping your stuff stock. And man, this was a great talk. I love BSing about Ford trucks and all that jazz. And actually, I kind of want to do it again. So keep me updated on what you're doing next, and let's talk about another podcast down the road.
Sounds good. Well, hey, again, I really appreciate the opportunity because I know there's a million other people out there that would probably be cooler. But
no, you guys are pretty much the coolest.
Yeah. All right, man. We appreciate it.
Can't wait to see your stuff on all your socials. So
sounds good.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Craig. Talk
See you,
soon,
Craig.
bud.
Have a good one, man.
Have a good one. See ya.